is you, Lord. All I need is you. All I need is you, Lord. This is my kid. What's up, everybody? Steven Tillman here. Today we're going to be talking about editing exterior images. Instead of the regular ambient and then flash shot and then window pull and then the safety shot, on exterior they're much quicker, they're much easier, and you usually have to do just 2 shots. And if you haven't already, to keep these videos coming out, hit the subscribe button, click that bell notification so you can see every time I put out a new tutorial. And if you don't mind, hit the like button. Or don't. That's up to you. All right, so here we are looking in the computer, and we are looking at these 2 images right here. Now, for this specific photo, you look at it and you think, oh, that's a terrible photo. But if you go over to this photo, oh, now it's all really well exposed, but you see now this is really dark. What you're doing is taking one part from 2 photos and then blending it together manually in Photoshop. You see that my first shot here was super bright. My brightest shot, just like in the ambient on the interior stuff. So what I'm looking for here, when I took this photo, my first shot, I made it super bright. I'm outside in the sunlight and I'm still at 1/25 of a second at 6.3 ISO 100. So I brought my ISO down, which means it's gonna be better quality image, but I moved my shutter speed to where I can get bright enough to where I can adjust this later. So let's do some full bumps. Now what that does is just see how everything jumped to the side, my shadows, my whites, my blacks, but I wanna bring that exposure down just a little bit because it's a little overexposed, and that looks good right there. So then let's go to the other one and do the same thing, and you see everything kind of jumped. And what it did, it just kind of evened out and flattened the photo. Now, in this particular instance, flattening the photo is okay because we're going to put that manual dynamic range back in the image when we go and edit in Photoshop. So right now this looks pretty good. Now in this right here, what I do on the darker shot is I bring that blue, especially with the good sky like that. See how that just kind of pops a little more? Just a little bit. All right, now, when you have both of these highlighted, right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Now while this is opening in Photoshop, I'm gonna take a moment to let you know that in the description below, there is a 30-day free trial of Lightroom and Photoshop. You can get these paired up for like $13 a month after the 30-day free trial. If you don't like it, it's not written in stone, you don't have to keep using it, you just cancel. So also, any of my music that I use on this channel is from Epidemic Sound. And for 30 days free in the link in the description, you can also try them out. You can download sound effects, all kinds of music, all these things for 30 days, absolutely free, and just download constantly every single day. And when that 30 days is up, you can cancel and keep every single song, every single sound effect that you downloaded, you can keep on your computer. You do not have to give them back if you choose not to stay with them. That's pretty cool. But once I started using them, I really like it because it's royalty-free music. Try it out. All right, so like always, we highlight all the layers, edit, auto align layers, make sure this first auto is checked. And there we are. Then we check it out, make sure all the lines match up, there's no jumping. Looks pretty good. You can see on the edges where it moved a little bit. Click that top one. And what I'm gonna do, Option or Alt, click the layer mask, hide. Push brush. Make sure that it is on a soft round with no hardness at all. So what I'm doing here, what's my flow? Let's do 10%. So what I'm doing here, in your bracket keys right above your enter, left and right will make it big, small. So what I'm doing now, black and white over here, press X to toggle back and forth between the two. And you want a white brush to reveal. Actually, let's do 5% flow because it shows up really well because I made it so bright. And so what I'm doing is I'm manually coming in here in the shadows and I'm just kind of evening it out a little bit. I'm not going crazy with it. Up here on the house, up here. And so now, that was before, and this is after. And what you can do, if you press L, go into these right here. Double click right there, why not? Push B again. And what I'm trying to do is kind of get up here underneath the little tops and then those deep shadows right there. And then I zoom in, because I don't want that right there. Zoom in real small, just kind of brush it and make it even. So there's no like hard line there where I had that line drawn. Easy as that. I can come in here and do a little bit of this. Right now you can see me, you can see what the effects are, but once you finish editing, no one will know that they're two separate photos, which is what you want. You don't want it to stand out, that it doesn't look natural. All right, but what I'm gonna do is push S, and for anything you're on, whether it's clone stamp or any other thing like that, and your brush as well, pushing the brackets will make it smaller and larger. So push Alt or Option, and I wanna sample right there. Now my flow is at 10. I want it to be at like 80. Sample, just keep sampling. Even zoom in a little bit here. And the reason I'm doing this is not because necessarily this is in the way, but I don't want someone who's looking at the property to their eye to be drawn to a distraction. So this whole tree right there, like the whole branches that are out right there, it's not that big of a deal, but these crazy ones that come over here and kind of get in the way of the photo, they kind of make your eye drawn from looking at the house, like what's this over here? I don't want people to be doing that. I want them to look at the house because that's my job, to keep their eyes on the house. That's why I get paid. Keep sampling. Now you can see when you do a clone stamp, if you do, I'll show you. You do like this over here, sample it over there. See how that's a hard, weird, and it's obviously not the same thing? Now watch, Command Z to undo that. So if I do Option, this, it kind of shows me what it's doing over there. Like it gives me a little preview. Let's see, I want the hardness to be almost non-existent. And it just helps it blend in quite a bit too. Because the people who are looking at this photo do not know how it looked before you edited anything out. So just make sure lines run with lines. So you have to clone stamp a line over here and then edit across what you're wanting to edit out. Grass is one of the easiest things to do because there's no real pattern. Now, if you think that this is too hard for you to do, it's not. It just takes a little practice. Like, go out in front of your own house or whatever. What I did was start practicing. I took pictures of my kid, and then I played around with it, and I clone stamped and then put an eyeball and blended it into his head and made his lips real huge. It embarrassed him, but it helped me to learn how to do the clone stamp. So clone stamp will be your best friend or your worst enemy. So just practice. That's all you gotta do. So do this. Yep. See how it gives you a little preview right there? Ooh. Command Z. Zoom in a little more. See, it gives you, sample it. Sample it like, I usually put that crosshair right on the crack of what I'm doing. And then I come up here and do that. See, look at that. And it just blends right in. Of course that, there we go. So yeah, if you end up editing over the top of a branch, it will clone it in. So just be careful with that. Make this a little smaller. Always, when you're clone stamping, do some brushing, lift up your pen, do some brushing again. If you do not have a Wacom tablet, I suggest you get one. I'll leave a link in the description. It helps things move so much faster. Imagine doing this with the mouse or like on my laptop here on the trackpad. So much frustration. Just save up a little money, get you a good one. You can get a medium one. I have a larger one, and I got this large one because I thought I needed it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but right here in the middle is where I've worn it out so much because I didn't need one this big, and I didn't know that. So get you a smaller one. You don't have to have a huge one like I do. All right, clone stamp, clone stamp. Remember, you're always going back, going in the random spot and sampling. And what it does is it kind of blends it a little bit. Instead of making it look like just a solid line of editing, you're you're sampling, editing, sampling, editing, sampling, editing, and it kind of mixes it up a little bit, and you can't tell that you ever edited anything, which is what you want. I used to want people to know that I edited because it took me so long to do it, until I realized that, like lighting, editing is not supposed to look like it was edited. It's supposed to look natural. So let's do this. Let's do some stamping over here, some stamping over here. Now, is this all necessary? Probably not. You can zoom out, fit the screen. Now look, that's what it was. It was a little distracting, and this is what it is. Let's go a little bit deeper. I enjoy editing. I enjoy the challenge. So don't get upset with yourself because you're not doing it perfect the first time. It takes a little bit of practice. And that's what these videos are for, to help you to not be frustrated and know that if I can do it, you can do it. A little bit of stamping there. Remember to lift up your brush, because now once you do the pattern that I did right here, I had my crosshairs when I sampled right there in the middle of that crack. And now I know when and when you're sampling, you can move around the mouse. It's when you push down that grabs the sample. Like, look, I'm doing this, but I still have that same sample. But when I push down, click, that's when it does it. And then when I go down here and I sample on that crack, then I can move around and the grain stays exactly the same. Even this line, see? That's so cool to me. So what I'm doing here, and the stamp always stays the same distance away from where you're painting. So if that's confusing to you, just stamp one place, paint somewhere that matches up what you're trying to do, and then everything else you paint will be the same pattern. It's pretty cool how it works. It'll always stay the exact angle and everything. See how it's look like I'm not even having to try? Now see how that's a little wavy right there? They're not gonna be zoomed in. It's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. Because if you look even down here, like some of the shadows make it look like that. So the brain is not drawn to it because it looks like everything else, if that makes sense to you. All right, so now we have to sample again. Right there, get the crosshairs on the crack, go up here to where I wanna sample it, where the line matches up, and now I can come back and do this, which is pretty cool. So now you're wondering, well, what do I do right here? So you could dab it and make it almost non-existent. Can you tell that that's there? No, you cannot. Now I almost have this whole tree gone because of a little bit of clone stamping. Now, I'm talking as I'm doing this, and I'm stopping and I'm making points and I'm telling you extra stuff. You're not gonna be doing that when you do this, so it'll be a lot quicker, especially after you practice. Now, as I'm zoomed out looking, this place earlier that I did right here is kind of it draws my eye, and I don't want that. So at 5%, maybe let's go 2%. At 2%, I'm gonna click on this layer mask, and I'm going to hit X to toggle to black to hide, and I wanna dab it, just a little bit. Now what am I doing? When we lighten up something, it makes it almost look foggy sometimes, like that did. So I'm bringing it back to the natural color to where it's kind of matching this over here, but it still looks natural. Remember that's before, that's after. So I can go back and look and see if maybe I brightened up something a little too much, because you want there to be a little bit of separation, a little bit of definition, which is from light to dark, but you want it to blend seamlessly. So that to me was a little light. You as the editor, it may be different to you, whatever your taste is. Now, so I can see all that branch over there is gone. It does not draw my eye anymore, because what I'm trying to think in my head when I'm editing this is, what is someone gonna see when they're looking at it? So I want them to see the house. I don't want them to be distracted by a branch. I don't want them to be distracted because it's too dark and be like, ugh, I can't really see what's in there. You don't want them squinting to look. So you brighten everything up a little bit, and actually I kind of want to brighten this a little. X to toggle back, brighten that up just a little bit more. Also too, while you're in this area, you may have to clone stamp again. When you're on site shooting, make sure that you're paying attention to windows, because your reflection will end up and you'll have to do a lot more clone stamping. But I checked before, while I was on site. That's why I'm standing where that bush is at, lined up with the house. And check for cars and stuff. You don't want cars to be in the windows. Sometimes it's unavoidable. It just is what it is. But if you can, you can. Like this is a whole circle drive around here. I kept moving my car all the way around until it was out of the way. For the money that I got paid for this house, move your car. Something I've learned. Because what that agent is gonna see, maybe not people who are looking online will be like, oh, well, somebody's there. They're not thinking it's your car, but the agent will know what you drove up in and be like, why is your car in the window? It'll just look more professional if you don't have your car in reflections. Or outside of windows either. You may have to park down the street and then walk up to the house, which I've done before. Or if you're in a place where you can't, you're gonna have to find sometimes a weird angle to where you're not shooting out the window and seeing your car or the agent's car. All right, so the same thing we do all the time, flatten image, Command S. It will be loaded right back up into Lightroom here. And look at that. This is the bright one. See how we used it in that photo? Not overbearing, but just enough to where it makes it very high quality dynamic range. And then this one was where the light was. Look at that, beautiful. And then again, we can bring some more blue into that sky, make it pop. Now I have an after edit thing that does lines. It pretty much redoes the first thing I did with the shadows and all that stuff. Brings the shadows out, knocks the highlights down so there's not too much harsh, and then you can bring a little contrast too, which will also in return bring some blue out in the sky. Here's the finished product. Deliverable, professional, clean. You can see in the shadows. The highlights are not too dark. The sky looks great. So if you haven't yet, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification so you can see every time I put new videos out. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. You're great. Thanks for watching. You're wonderful.
Okay.